Sales is the most lucrative skill in the world, period. The problem is most sales advice out there today is outdated, cheesy, and can even keep you from getting the deals that can make all the difference in your career. This is the No BS Sales School, a podcast for entrepreneurs and salespeople who want to master the skill of selling without all the BS.
I had a conversation with a buddy and a mentor of mine a couple of years ago. I had just lost a deal, a big deal that I was counting on, and I was mad. I was upset. And I called him because I needed somebody who would understand. He was just listening to me, and after a few minutes, he said, "Can I tell you what a mentor of mine told me about a year ago when I called him whining about a deal?" I said, "No, please tell me." He said, "Business is hard. Get over it. Get back to work." And I laughed out loud. I was like, holy shit, I need to hear that. That was good. Who's your mentor? Who told you that? I probably need to know him too. He goes, "You do. It was you when I called you 6 months ago about a deal that I didn't get." So funny. It's easy to give advice. Sometimes it's hard to take it. I was glad to hear that. And by the way, if you don't, my friend is Mark McGraw in Atlanta. He's a Sandler trainer guy in Atlanta. If you don't know Mark, you should. He's a freaking badass, great guy, great at what he does. Anyway, I was coaching a client last week about a big deal he was working on. And he's a good dude, and he sells heavy equipment. And he had this big sale with a customer, and the customer actually manufactured stuff for his competitor. So his prospect manufactures stuff for the competitor. But he was getting all the signals that the deal was going to be his. And so part of my coaching was always be skeptical. Always ask them, why would you do this? Why would you risk losing one of your customers to buy from me? No. They assured him. We need to do this. Their stuff doesn't make sense, blah, blah, blah. It's going in a different place than they normally go, blah, blah, blah. And then he called me the next morning and said, they told me I'm getting the deal. I was like, that is freaking awesome. It was a nice deal. It's making like, $50,000 in commission, which is a nice day for a lot of people. He was fired up. And then he called me 3 hours later and says, I didn't get the deal. I said, what the hell happened? He said, their competition, the competition that is a customer of this company, made a $1.2 million or signed a request or signed a buy order for $1.2 million order. And therefore, not wanting to risk that deal, they bought their heavy equipment from our competitor, which sucked, right? I don't know. My guess is if you're listening here, you've probably lost a sale like that before. It feels like somebody's taken a knife and stabs you in the chest and rips your guts out and laid them on the damn hot pavement. It sucks. It's no fun, and it can take the wind out of your sails. It happened to me a bunch. But I remember one time in the commercial real estate business about 100 years ago, I lost a deal. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing back then. I had this one thing, and the thing you say to yourself sometimes, which is, gosh, if this one deal or these two deals close, I'll be made. This will be great. And then none of them fucking close. I don't know if that ever happens to you, but it used to happen to me, especially when I didn't know what I was doing. Anyway, I got so mad because that deal didn't close. I sat around and bitched and whined and kicked the carpet for like 4 months before I picked up the phone to call anybody else. So not only did losing that deal cost me the time I wasted on it, and there were plenty of red flags I should have seen, but it also cost me additional time for the 4 months I wasn't out prospecting for the next one, much less tending a pipeline that I really didn't have. So I started thinking about what are some lessons. And, you can take it as a fail when you don't get a sale. But remember, we're doing this right. We're asking the prospect for a yes or a no, and no's are okay. We'd just rather hear them sooner than later. A late no sucks, but it's what it is. So what are some lessons you can learn from your failures? So I started thinking about this guy, and I hope he'll have his own lessons. But here are a couple lessons that I thought of for him that maybe can make this loss really profitable for him in the long run. Remember my friend Bill Sims? What's his name? Somebody Sims, Australian guy who wrote Blue Fishing. Great book. One of his sayings in there was, nobody drowns from falling in the water. You drown from failing to get out. So what is it you got to do to make up for it now? Right? What can you learn from this loss that can make us, fix it next time? So maybe we stay out of this position and get a no faster. I thought of a couple things. The first one is to absolutely understand, and this was living proof, unless you have a PO or a check or cash in your hand, you got nothing. You don't have shit. And I ask people this all the time when we're talking about a deal. I'll say on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 means you got nothing and 10 means there's no way you could screw it up, where do you think you are? I bet 9 times out of 10 people say 5, 6, 7, somewhere in there. And I have to remind them every single time I say, no, sir, you are at a 0. You don't have shit. Because if you think you're a 7, you think you've got something to lose, and you'll play not to lose, which means you won't say the things that you need to say. You won't ask the questions you need to ask. You're standing on that horrible piece of real estate to sell, Hope Island, hoping this time you'll get lucky. I don't want to be lucky, I do want to be lucky, but lucky's not reproducible. You can't follow the same pattern again and again and again to get lucky. Lucky just happens. So yeah, I like to be lucky, but I'd rather be good, right? I'd rather be good, to know what it is that causes that. So realize you've got nothing until you have a check or a PO. 0. So you might as well play to win. Keep pushing back. Keep being skeptical. Number 2, back to similar to the first, you cannot be skeptical enough with your prospect. You absolutely cannot. I don't mean being negative, but saying to them, these guys, really? You've got an existing customer right now that y'all do a couple $1 million worth of business a year, and you really would risk that relationship to do business with me? You'd have to have a hell of a lot of pain to do that, right? Clearly they didn't have enough. But I would suggest if there's something that could go wrong in your deal, something that would keep these guys from wanting to buy it, bring it up. Let them know. Hey, theirs is going to be cheaper. They're going to promise they can fix this too. Theirs actually does this better than ours does. I know it sounds crazy, but the more you do that, they're going to figure this shit out anyway. The more you do that, the better you will be, the faster you can get to the truth, because here's the thing. People often don't give a shit about best. What they care about is where they are right now. What are the things that they're willing to give up to get what they want? If somebody's got pain that you can fix, a compelling personal reason why they need to change, pain is emotional. It's not logical. If your deal's going to blow up, find out about it in the first call or the second call, not the 6th call, or when you've already spent the damn money in your head. Lesson number 3 is sometimes the answer is going to be no. And while you may not want to hear that, that's the choice we give people. We're asking for decisions, yeses and nos. Either one's okay. No is my second favorite word. I hear it all the time. I'd rather hear it sooner than later. I want you to have the same thing. All this crap about if I show you a way, would you buy today? Or if I do this, would you buy it? No. It's cheesy sales stuff. You're taking away people's agency. Always give them the ability to say yes or to say no. And sometimes no's the right word. Right word for them. Long term, it may be the right word for you. Good that they didn't do business with you. Right? Sometimes we don't see that till much later on. Rule number 4. Some will, some won't. So what? Who's next? Some will buy, some won't buy. So what? Who's the next person I need to be talking to? The big message from this is don't get your personal emotions wrapped up in a sale. Your buyer, your prospect is the one that's supposed to be emotional. People make decisions emotionally, then they justify it intellectually. If you, the salesperson, are emotionally involved in a deal, you lose objectivity. You'll miss the red flags, you'll waste time, and you'll get your heart broken because it took you too damn long to figure out this wasn't going to be a deal. Focus on the next one. Some will buy, some won't. So what? This is not personal. Who's the next person you need to be talking to? Usually I find when a deal rips your heart out and lays your guts on the ground, it's not really a problem with that deal. It's a problem with your pipeline. You don't have enough else going on. You were counting on this one to make up for flaws in the past. Rule number 5 is if you learn the lessons from the sale that you lost. See, we don't spend any time thinking about the sales we made because we just assume we're good. Right? We don't ever go back and dissect what we did well. But if you go back on the deals you screwed up and you're following a system or a process like we teach here at WS Sales, if you follow a system and a process, you can go back and figure out exactly where you messed it up. And then learn that and build a stronger spine from that. Realize I'm not going to let that shit happen again. I'm going to question deeper on that. I'm going to push back harder on that. I'm going to be more skeptical. I'm going to bring it up that this may happen. What will they do then? If you learn the lessons and get back to work on your pipeline immediately, then the lesson only costs you one time, and it may end up making you money. Use that loss, use that disappointment as a drive to make up for it, right? There's always a little bit, I think the best salespeople have a chip on their shoulder, right? They have a chip on their shoulder because somehow somebody along the way told them they couldn't do something or pushed them out the door or something. So use this loss as a little bit of a chip on your shoulder to go out and find more prospects, to get in front of more people, to have real conversations, not bullshit, happy, be my friend, here's a box of donuts conversations, but real business conversations about what's really going on in other people's business. We have programs starting every month, every week here at NoBS Sales School. If you are, as a podcast listener, I've got special deals for you. If you call me or email me with the thing and say I'm a podcast listener. Happy to talk to you what we're doing here and give you a special discount on what we're doing. And I don't give many discounts, but I appreciate y'all listening. I appreciate you being a part of this. Share it with somebody who needs to hear it. And good luck. And I hope you lose some sales and learn some lessons. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to the NoBS Sales School podcast. If you haven't already, please take 1 minute to write a quick review for the show. It really does make a huge difference. Also, subscribe to the show and please forward this episode to somebody else who needs to hear it. As a bonus for listening, I'm going to give you access to a free mini course, 7 expensive sales mistakes you're making and what you can do about it. Go to www.7salesmistakes.com and get access to the free mini course. That's the number 7salesmistakes.com. Thanks again for listening to the NoBS Sales School podcast.